Hi, week 2, video number 5. In this video, we're going to look at how to access those academic journal articles that I was talking about. This is a little more complicated process than finding videos or finding books, but it is really worthwhile because it lets you get into the most up-to-date and current information on any medical topic. So to get into the databases that are going to allow me to search for medical articles, I'm going to click over here on databases, and I'm going to go back down to view A to Z databases list. From here, again, remember I have all sorts of different databases that are available. I'm going to use a big super database that's going to allow me to search multiple sub-databases all at the same time. So to get into the recommended database for you, I'm going to go to E again, and this time I'm going to click on EBSCO All Databases. When I click on this, it's going to ask me if I want to use the web interface, which is what I'd like to do. So I'm going to click there. And then I'm brought to a page that lists out all sorts of different sub-databases. I'm going to need to tell the computer which sub-databases I want to use in my search. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Select and then Deselect. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to manually tell the computer which sub-databases I want to search. The first one that I may want to search is Alt Health Watch. And Alt Health Watch deals with alternative medicine. If I'm doing a psychiatric topic, I might want to click on APA Psych articles. If it's not a psychiatric topic, I could leave that one off. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to continue to look here. I'm going to click off CIN AHL Plus with full text. This gives you access to nursing and allied health journals. I'm going to continue to scroll down and I'm going to click off Health Source Nursing Academic Edition. I'm going to continue to scroll down. And I'm going to pick Medline with full text, a big database full of medical articles. And I'm going to continue. And the last one that I might include is Sports Discuss with full text. I especially want to click this one off if I'm doing a sports medicine topic or if I'm somebody in the RMT program. So again, dealing with sports-related injuries, muscle-related injuries, that kind of thing. So I'll click that one off as well. I have in the week 2 folder given you a handout that lists out the different databases that are recommended for nursing and allied health students. Okay, and a description, right, of each of these ones. Okay, eventually you'll just do it automatically. You won't even need to check the list as to, what to check off. Your fingers will just do it automatically. But for the first little while, okay, make sure that you consult that list so that you're clicking off all the important sub-databases. I'm then going to click Continue, and I'm brought to a search screen. Looks a lot like some of the other search screens that we've used, but it's amazing what I can do through this. So I'm going to use our same term that we've been looking at before, cancer, and I'm going to click Search. Just going to give it a few seconds here. And I end up with over 3 million academic journal articles that somehow relate to cancer. Really impressive. Okay, so think there's over 3 million articles that I could read that have been published. Obviously, it's not going to be possible to read 3 million articles. So I need to search smart. I need to think about different ways that I can narrow my search so that I end up with the most appropriate information. So maybe it's not just cancer that I'm working on. Maybe it's breast cancer. And I'll do another search. I'll add in that search term. And now I end up with over 500,000 different hits. Okay, still a mind-blowing amount of information. So I'm going to start doing some limiting. Okay, and the limiting is going to help me in terms of reducing the amount of information that I'm getting so that I end up with the best possibility of finding articles that work for me. The first thing I'm going to do over here on the left-hand side under Limit To is click off Full Text so that any result that I get are ones where I can access the article for free right away. Okay, so either available as a linked full text or available in a PDF format. I also might want to restrict to scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and I'm going to click on that. And that brings us down a little bit, okay, if you're watching the numbers, not much, okay, but a little bit it brought us down. And then I might want to limit by publication date. So if you can see here, I'm getting results from 1936 all the way to 2021. I probably do not want to look at what was published in 1936 about cancer. Stuff has really changed, right, since that time. So I want to use the slider and give the database a sense, okay, of what kind of time period I want. So maybe I just want a decade. So I might tell the computer, I only want to see things from 2011 to 2021. That's going to update my list and again, really reduce the number of hits that I'm getting. Also to note that some professors have rules about how recent a journal article should be. So some professors have a 5-year rule. So they'll say, don't look at anything that's older than 5 years old. Some will have a 10-year rule. It really varies from professor to professor. They have different opinions about what's considered current. But generally, a 10-year span is probably pretty good, okay? That can really help you in terms of reducing. I'm still, though, ending up with way too many hits, okay? 71,000 hits. Absolutely no way. I can't even get through all of the titles, okay, of the different articles that are coming up. So I want to, again, be really specific. I want to think about ways to narrow. So I might say I want to read about breast cancer in Canada. I add that search term in, and now I'm at 3,000, okay? Much better than the number of hits that we were ending up with, the overwhelming number of hits that we were ending up with at the beginning. I can add in as many search terms as I want. Okay, so this is really cool. I can get as specific as I want and try different search terms to allow me to narrow the hits that I'm going to get. When you're looking at your results list after you've done a search, I really recommend that you not just take a look at, say, the first couple of things that are coming up. Because the first couple of things that are coming up may not necessarily be appropriate or may not necessarily give you what you need. Remember, it is a computer. It doesn't have a brain. Okay, so it's just throwing stuff at you at random. It's using, some type of system to try to figure out what it is that you're looking for and to give you the best results. But it's not a human brain. It can't read your mind. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the actual titles of the different articles that are coming up. And I want to do a couple things. I want to assess the title to see if it's going to give the kind of information that I'm looking for. And then I also want to take a look at the title to make sure that I can read and understand it. Okay. If I'm having difficulty even just with the title, I'm going to go to page 2. I want to see if we can find something really complex here. I might take a look at, these are actually look pretty good. Let me go back to cancer in general, and we will end up with some real doozies, I think, in terms of articles. I'm going to take a look here. Let's see what comes up. Just going to switch to page 2. Some of them are looking a little complex, but I wanted to find one that's really wild. Okay, Okay. Here's one that looks a little complicated: an unbiased approach to defining bona fide cancer neoepitopes that elicit immune-mediated cancer rejection. I can tell even just from the title that that's pretty specific. Okay, it's intended for a highly specialized audience. So that is not necessarily one that I want to take a look at first. Okay, so again, assessing by title really is helpful. If I find something, okay, that from the title sounds appropriate and I'm able to read and understand the title, I'm going to go through a next test. And this test, I'm going to click on the journal title. This is before I'm even accessing the article itself. And I'm going to look for something here called the abstract. And the abstract is just a short little summary of the longer article. So it goes over the main points or the key points that are made in the longer article. My next test is to read through the abstract and make sure that I'm able to understand the abstract. Because if I'm struggling with the summary, I know I'm really going to struggle reading the longer article, right? Because the longer article obviously is going to be more complicated than just the summary. So I read through the summary and I make sure, okay, this is like something I can understand. I actually want to take a look at this article. In order to get into it, I'm going to click over here on the left-hand side on PDF full text. I'm going to give the computer a couple of seconds to pull it up. And there I end up with the actual journal article, just as if I had the paper copy of the journal right in front of me. Okay, so I can take a look. Again, I can read on screen. I can download. I can print. Okay, so look at those little buttons over here on the side. And I can take a look and see, okay, is this giving me the information that I'm looking for? If not, I'm going to go back out and I'm going to start the process again. So I'm going to take a look from my list of hits. I'm going to go back and look at those titles and see, okay, what might work. Oh, this looks good. Okay, I'll take a look, open up the article, see what's here. Oh, looks good. Okay, so again, I'll make some choices about whether I'm going to download, whether I'm going to print, and then I have the article. I'm able to use the information that's there and able to read the full article. Again, if we go back out, remember that the key part is not to get frustrated with how many results that you're getting when you're doing these academic journal article searches, and to be creative in terms of thinking about ways to narrow your actual search so that you end up with hits that are going to work for you and that are going to allow you to access the information that you need. Let's go back and take a look at how I got into those databases again. So I'm starting from the Library College's main page. I'm going to click on Databases, View A to Z Databases List, E for EBSCO. I'm going to go down and click on EBSCO All Databases, EBSCO Host Web, and then important, I'm going to click Select, and then I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to tell the computer which sub-databases I specifically want to search. And again, until I remember the different databases that I should use, I'm going to take a look at the handout in the folder for the week and make sure that I'm clicking off all the appropriate databases that I need. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to click Continue down here at the bottom, and I land at my search screen. So I'm going to start by putting in a general topic. I'm going to see what I end up with. Oh, just 1 million, right? Lots of information here. Then I'm going to think of different ways to narrow. So I'm going to add in, as you can see, different search terms. Okay, remember your goal is to end up with fewer results rather than more results. I'm going to go down on the left-hand side here and I'm going to do some limiting, full text. I'm also going to tell it I only want scholarly or peer-reviewed journals. And then I'm going to tell it I only want to see articles within a specific period of time. So let's say 2015 to 2021. Now I end up with 645 hits. That's still a lot, but I'm able to go through now and browse and take a look at the different titles that I'm getting and take a look at the different abstracts. Remember the short little summary. I just click on the title to get into that. Short little abstract. Read it, see if it works. Right? If it does, then I'll go in and I'll take a look at the full article. Other information that you're going to need, and this is going to come into play when we start doing that thing called APA format next week, is information about the actual article. So I'm going to need to know where to find different pieces of information. I have the title of my article up here, but I also want to note the different authors, and authors are always listed last name, comma, first name. I want to see the source, and the source is the name of the journal that it comes from. So this is from a journal called BMC Pediatrics. The year of publication of the particular article. So this one came out in 2020. Then I also want to notice these little numbers here. Okay, so you see 20, and then in a bracket there's a 1. This is the volume and the issue that this particular article appeared in. The volume refers to the sequence in time in terms of the year that this particular article came out. The issue refers to the period of time within the calendar year that the article came out. I'm then going to see a colon, and then I see 1 to 9. That means that the article started on page 1 and then concluded on page 9. In a bracket, it says 9p. That just indicates to me that the article itself is 9 pages long. It's important to look at this stuff because not only will you need it for APA, it also gives you an idea of how long the article that you've selected is. And I will give you a warning, some articles are very, very long, multiple pages. They can go into hundreds of pages long. So that's another thing to keep in mind as you're sort of sorting through what it is that you've found. You want to take a look at articles that are of a reasonable length. Okay? If the project is due tomorrow, you're not going to have time to read a 200-page article. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. As you go through, again, you'll see other information. One thing, though, that I do want to draw your attention to is this thing here called DOI. And if you take a look over here on the side, you'll see that it's a link, and it's just a combination of numbers and letters. The DOI is like a UPC code for a specific journal article. So journal articles will have their own code, their own link, that specifically goes back to that journal article. It's important to note these because it does come into play when we start doing the APA format. Now, to make things a little more frustrating, it's also important to keep in mind that not all journal articles have DOIs at this point. The DOI stands for Direct Object Identifier. The DOI is something that is relatively new, and they're still going through the process where they're assigning every single journal article in the world its own link and its own specific set of letters and numbers. So you may end up with hits without a DOI, and that's okay. You may end up with hits with a DOI, and that's also okay. when you're going to be doing your assignment for me, I'm going to be asking you to record the DOI of some articles that you're going to be finding. Remember, again, you may not necessarily have one. Okay, so don't panic. If there's nothing there, that just means they haven't given it a DOI yet. Okay, we're at 20 minutes, so I don't want to make this particular video chunk any longer. But I am going to ask you, as I did with the other services, to get your feet wet and start using the different databases to look at journal articles. So maybe think of 4 or 5 different diseases or conditions that you find interesting. Plug those in as your key term. Then think of ways to narrow. Okay, again, with an aim to reducing the number of hits as much as you can. Do some limiting. So do some date limiting, do full text limiting, see what you end up with. Click around. If you end up down a rabbit hole and you don't know where you are, and this can happen sometimes, right, as you're going through these multiple screens, remember that you can't break this thing. If you don't know where you are, close the window and start over, right? So if you end up all confused and you don't know where you are anymore, just give it another start. Okay. Again, it's really just about getting comfortable with using this particular service and getting comfortable with the idea of handling just this huge volume of information that you're going to be getting. So happy searching, enjoy using the databases, marvel at just how much information is out there. You are lucky to be studying healthcare at this particular moment in time where we have all of these services. In the old days, people had to sit in the library with actual books and actual paper journals and flip through all of this stuff to find what they needed. You are lucky, okay, because you're able to get the computer to do a lot of this work for you. In our next video, I'm going to be going over the assignment that's associated with this week's work. I'll talk to you then.